If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
Pat. Oh, it's kind of weird to talk to you. It's still daylight outside right now. I'm not used to that.
I know the sun has not gone down. This is unprecedented.
It
We have
is.
no idea what's happening. Uh, the sun is still hanging in the sky. We hope that this is just a rare anomaly, but maybe this could be end times. So
It could
we'll
be.
we'll figure out.
I guess people that listen to the show, it doesn't make sense to you guys. We're just
Or
recording
or
over
we're
the
just
time.
recording like 3 hours early.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, whatever. Hey, we got a little bit more energy going on. How was your your weekend?
My weekend was okay. I went shooting on Friday, my first time since the operation, and so that was a lot of fun. I was a little rusty, but nothing too embarrassing.
Yeah.
My go-to move is to get one of the targets where someone's being held hostage, and then I try to shoot the gun out of the bad guy's hand, like it's spaghetti westerns. So instead of like shooting the bad guy, like because like it's a paper target, right? So it totally holds up that in real life, if someone had a gun to my kid's head, I could just like whip out my gun, whip out my 9mm and like shoot the gun out of his hand. But that's what I like to practice doing, and it was a lot of fun. So I took my friend Candace. It was her birthday, and she wanted to go. She did a lot of the artwork for the podcast, as well as most of my movie posters and the stuff for Fireside Mechanical.
Oh, well,
So yeah, friend of the show. She actually listened. I had no idea. She was like telling me stuff about shit that we said on the show, and I was like, "You actually listened to the show?" She's like, "Yeah, I did your logo and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's a way to get listeners, I guess, is have them do artwork for us." And but thank you, Candace. And it's kind of interesting. Like whenever I go shooting, which I don't do it, I used to do it like once or twice a month. Now, obviously, I kind of hit a lull, but um, you think that like dudes would be lining up to do it, but it's never dudes that want to go with me. It's always chicks,
yeah.
which I don't
Well,
get. You know,
why?
I maybe I'm being sexist, but it just doesn't seem like an inherently female. Because when you go to the range, it's like 90% guys, so 95% guys, and the 5% girls that are there are like there with another dude. So whenever I like post something on Instagram or Facebook,
Okay, I
like,
see what
hey,
you're
who wants
saying.
to go to the range together? It's all chicks that are like, ooh, I want to go, I want to go. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't
That's
matter.
true.
It doesn't matter to me either way.
Do you have a lot of? Do you have more chick friends than you do guy friends?
Honestly, I do.
I have more guy friends than I do chick friends.
Why do you think that is?
Because I'm a heathen, and and they I think women are intimidated by other women. I think that that's kind of ingrained in them to have that. I mean, it's just kind of what you learn growing up is that other women are your competition. I'm not. I have better chances of flirting with you than your boyfriend or your husband or whatever. But I think that makes a big rift, and because I'm so open and heathenistic, they find me really extra intimidating, and I hate that because I like women. I like to look at their boobs while I talk to them, and
don't, don't we all?
I'm just kidding. That's what I'm saying. I got man humor. I don't know.
I think that I'm too. I have male friends, and I have very strong long-term male friendships, but I have few of them. Whereas like female friends, I feel like I have definitely have learned since the fucking heart surgery shit. I have way more fair weather female friends. Where like, yeah, I talk to more chicks and there's more chicks around, but like as far as guys go, my bond with my male friends probably tend to be a little bit stronger. And I think like a lot of guys that are weaker than me are like intimidated by me and don't want to be around me. Like if you look at the dude friends that I do have that I'm real like tight with, we're all like titans of industry, like alphas, like very like like we run our shit. So there's no like competition or like uh we might not all do the same thing, but we're all very good at what we do,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. So we don't
Yeah.
feel threatened by each other. It's like, oh, like this guy might like Jacobson Legal Services. Like, my buddy Lee, like he's a lawyer. Like I'm not a lawyer, but I need to be a lawyer. Like I'm just as much of a badass as he is. I just do different shit, you know? And I don't know. So
I'll say that I was informed over the weekend that I'm in a fight with one of my friends, one of my really close friends, and I didn't know.
Ooh.
I didn't know. I'm like, well, we are. Why? And somebody came to me like, you want me to intervene? I heard you guys were fighting. I was like, I had no idea. And I found out that apparently it has something to do with jealousy, and I'm like, wait,
Why are you
wait,
jealous of them?
I'm not jealous. That's the thing. I'm just like, and that's, I guess maybe that's my issue. Like, I don't have that like ingrained in me. Like, I don't get intimidated by other people. And, that is one thing that I can say with the utmost confidence. I don't compare myself to other people like that.
Right.
I just I don't have a reason. Even people that are, like me, or maybe we have the same interests or hobbies or professions or whatever. I don't feel the need to be like, oh, they're better than me, because they're not. Nobody's better than anybody. You're just different. And so it was shocking to me to find out that we were in a fight because of jealousy. And I was like, wait, why is this person jealous of me? And I think they think that I'm jealous of them, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just not. And I just told the other person, I was like, you know what, fuck it, don't intervene, because I'm too old for that. So you know?
People like us learn at a very early age to be okay with the fact that we're different.
Right.
We
Yes.
learn we learn that as a survival mechanism. And when we get older, one of the benefits of that is that we don't necessarily get jealous of other people. Now I am petty as fuck, and I'll go on the record and say that.
I
Like,
can be too. Yeah,
yo, fuck
absolutely.
yeah. Like I get
Absolutely.
real fucking like petty about shit, but it's not necessarily jealous. You could not pay me any amount of money in the world to change positions with someone else. I mean, unless it's somebody that's underneath someone that I want to be underneath at the time. But like, other than that, like I'm perfectly
Yeah.
happy with who I am, and I would not want to change that for the world. So I don't get jealous. Now, when other motherfuckers get the hookup that they don't deserve, oh, I'll sit around the kitchen table and bitch about that all night.
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
different.
that's a different thing, right? And so,
Yeah,
I mean, I agree. Like, I don't feel the need to have I just, if I do, it's not like I've never ever felt jealous ever. I'm not. Come on, I'm human, right? I
right.
mean, we have those moments, but when I do feel jealousy, I don't take it as an opportunity to go, well, fuck that person, they suck. No, I take it as an opportunity to look inward. Why am I jealous? What about that makes me jealous of them? What am I lacking, and what do I need to change to have that? And so,
Right. My emotional response usually is something along the lines of, "Oh man, I need to get my shit together."
right,
It's
me,
not like
right,
"Oh, fuck this person." It's like, "Oh man, that could have been me. They're not smarter than me. They're not better than me. They're not more talented than me. What did they do that I didn't do? Did they work harder? I need to work harder." You know what I mean?
right.
I'm such a narcissist. I even make my jealousy all about me, and like, someone else's
Yeah,
someone else's success. It's all like, oh, how do I make that? What do I have to do?
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
good, because then you know what? As much as it's like, yeah, you're putting pressure on yourself, and maybe it's undue sometimes, and whatever. I'd rather be like that and be a hard worker than walk around hating people for stupid fucking reasons.
yeah. That's
You know,
true. Well, I popped in last night on the strange conversations over there with Hey Strangeness, talking to our buddy Greg Morrill.
I waved.
And did you wave at me?
I
My
waved
phone
at
was
you.
acting so weird. I think that Russia is conducting a cyber attack on social media. I don't know. Anyway, so as I came in the room, they were literally talking about how much I do.
Yeah, they were. I was popping in and out. One of the things I don't like about when you do that is that you can't switch to a different app, which I'm always switching back and forth between different apps.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
it tells on you.
they were they were suggesting you for something. I forget what
Oh,
it is, but
oh,
they were saying, "Oh, you should ask Ashes to do that," and then you materialized.
They should ask me because I'll probably do it. Because that's what I do. I do all the things, right? And so that's it's just kind of what it is. No, but anyway, yeah. So that's I found that out over the weekend. It made me sad that somebody felt like because I just want to get along with everybody. Like I'm seriously not like I was talking to somebody the other day and they described me as a drink and they described me as a very spicy Bloody Mary. And I kind of hate that. I don't hate it, but it's just that I come across as very intimidating and I guess mean, like a mean girl. And I'm not that way. And I don't ever want to be perceived that way. I'm very much all about everybody getting along and, having a good time and good things and good feelings and positive vibes and all that. And I just don't get where everybody gets that impression of me. So I don't know. Either
That
way,
you're mean
that I'm mean. Yeah. That
because
I'm,
you're from Dayton and you're hood as fuck.
is that what it
Like
is?
you're a little scary. Like I'll be honest, and
I,
I could probably fucking kick your ass, but like I wouldn't fucking if
You
I if,
would. You'd like tap me and I'd break out in tears. Like I'm super sensitive. I don't
no
know.
if I was like another girl or like a fucking goofy little boy, like I would be intimidated by you.
Which is silly because I'm not mean at all. And so that's the thing. I mean, so why do I have more guy friends than girls? Well, it's also probably because like I could joke around with my dude friends and be like, I'm gonna touch your butt. And they'll be like, yeah, do it. I could joke around with my girlfriends, like, I'm gonna touch your butt. And they'll be like, well, I don't know. And, so I think that's, that's also the difference there, is that I just like to be able to have the freedom to be me. And
To grope. To
yes.
fucking yeah, I
Yes,
used to have
and
that freedom, and then Me Too happened, and now I'm just fucking sitting here minding my own business.
well, you gotta let them come to you, I guess. If they open that door and they're like, "Hey, can I touch your butt?" Let them touch your butt, Pat. I mean, that's
Sure. Like
get
I
what
have
you're
no
saying.
boundaries. I had an interesting childhood. I don't know what healthy boundaries are.
Same, and I have a big issue with that, and I also felt the shrapnel from Me Too because of it. Because just because I'm a woman doesn't make it okay for me to go around groping people, and I still struggle with that a lot because I assume that if we're friends, then like you already know, you should know what to expect. That doesn't mean you consent, and that's my bad. And I apologize in advance to anybody that I may have or may grope in the future. But I got my own issues, but
Well, I could say this: you and I have hung out together twice so far, and you've always been
very
seated
very
at the
good.
complete opposite side of the room.
That's true.
So,
That's
so
true. That's a good point.
as far away as possible with a fucking yardstick. So there's
That's a good point. Well, the pandemic has also taught me a little bit differently, and I don't necessarily like the other end of the spectrum that I've come to know, because I'm very much a touchy feely, huggy type of person, and I still want to be that person. But like I said, being in a pandemic has changed that for me personally, and I don't like that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be afraid to touch people.
yeah.
Um,
Well, by
so
the time this show airs, I think the pandemic is officially over. It'll be March 2nd. So
that's true. That's true.
yeah,
That's isn't that why March 2nd? I don't I don't
because
want to know.
yeah, because this is over. It's over. There's no more
It's just
masks.
over now.
It's done.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Well, okay, so this is I mean, I've given you guys permission. If you see me, we can touch. Don't touch my no-no areas, but we can hug. That's I'm just going to shut up now.
Hey, speaking of which,
Yeah.
this Thursday, March 3rd, you and
Yes.
I are both going to be on Cryptocasters at 8:30 Chicago time.
Yes, we are. We are going to be over there representing it is Cryptid March Madness over on Cryptid Casters. And we are the regional team for the Midwest, talking about Midwestern cryptids. And we're the best team, obviously. I don't know who else is going to be on it. Do we even know? I know Nash Hoover is going to be on it.
Yeah, he's the team captain. Uh,
Jeremiah,
CIA, Mr.
yeah,
fucking G-Man himself.
Mister.
He'll be on there spreading disinformation and logging everyone's IP addresses.
you know how he does. Yeah, I mean that's
As he do.
definitely. Definitely. Oh, Carter's going to be on from Mysteries Obscure YouTube. Carter's really neat, actually. We met him at CryptoCon. He's young, so we have to be mindful of that. He's of age, but he's young. He's under 21.
Oh
Um,
wow, okay.
I know that much. And then is that it? Is that all? Is that all? It's gonna just us? Yeah, I guess
If
so.
yeah, that sounds about right as far as roster goes.
Yep. So we are, but we're gonna kill it, and you should definitely tune in. If you're not on Clubhouse, I mean, why? Are you serious? I mean, why not? I don't understand. It's a great time. It's a very open world discussion. We've kind of I keep saying this every time we talk about it. We kind of keep having a lull in Clubhouse, but I would definitely like to start up more rooms again and do that, and I think it's neat. So there is that. Also, we have a winner for our 100th episode giveaway. If you listened to the whole entire episode and you got the password and you told either Pat or myself this password, you were entered into a giveaway to pick out one item from the merch shop. And that winner this week was our buddy Sherwin Sketch. Which congratulations, Sherwin. I know that you're super excited. Get with me, or I'll get with you, and you let me know what it is you would like sent to you. I just need your mailing address, and I can send it on its way. For good measure, if you'd like to also send me your social security number and your debit card number too, that would be great. Um, just kidding. But no, seriously, Sherwin, congratulations. Thanks for listening to the show and listening to the 100th episode was almost 3 hours long. So that was definitely a pioneer. and on Wednesdays, we talk weird. That's the longest episode we've ever done. Um, so that's cool. Maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. Maybe you should listen to the whole episode and see if you get the password this time. That's on you. But yeah, there's that. I also wanted to mention a couple of other things. First and foremost, if you like the show and you're a longtime listener here, why not go and give the show a rating? You can even review it if you're listening to it on Apple Podcast or other things like Podchaser, Good Pods, whatever it is you're listening to it on. If there's a rating system, you should definitely give your feedback. If you hate it, say you hate it. I mean, whatever. But if you love it, say you love it. You let us know. YouTube also, if you're listening on YouTube, comment, interact with the show as you're listening to it, and whatnot. There was also a couple of other things I wanted to mention. So as well as CryptoCasters this week, this past week, the part 4 of the 4-part Indrid Cold series that I did over on the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast came out. If you haven't listened to that series, I absolutely cannot say enough good things about those guys and that episode. As you guys know, I'm very close with Tanya Derenberger. Tanya listens to the show, and she's going to be coming on very soon. But I've gotten really close with the family. We've talked about this a lot. I've been investigating the Indrid situation, so they invited me to come talk about Indrid, and they did so within a 4-part series. Now these guys knew their stuff. They did a really good job. And if there's they left no stone unturned with this Indrid study that they did. So anything and everything you could ever want to know about Indrid Cold is over on the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Also, I wanted to bring up Monster Radio is still going strong. We just came out with our 3rd episode. We had Matt Squatch from Matt Squatch Presents on talking about all kinds of weird, fun, crazy, kooky things. We will be continuing the show. So if you're not tuned in there right now, Monster Radio is exclusive to YouTube. I will be getting it up on podcasting platforms soon. But go subscribe to Monster Radio on YouTube.
I listened to this last episode with Matt Squatch.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I thought it
What
was
did you
good.
think? Oh,
It was a lot of him. I didn't hear a lot of you.
A lot of Matt Squatch, yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. He was the guest, and you have
He
3
was good.
hosts and whatever. But
Right.
no, I probably listened for about a half hour or so when I was
Okay.
playing video games, and production quality was good. I didn't, I don't know. It's Bigfoot,
Sure.
but it was good. I will definitely listen to future episodes. It's not
Sure.
bad. I assure our audience, it is not a derivative spinoff. This is not some lackluster, like if they tried to do a spinoff of The Office with Dwight, and it just was fucking stupid, right? That's not what this is.
No, it's
This
its
is
own
good.
thing.
This is like Angel to Buffy. Like it holds up. It's good.
Oh.
So
Wow. Well, that's a compliment right there.
well,
Who am I?
who would you? Well, I don't
Which
know.
character would I be?
You would be Spike.
I probably would be Spike. Yeah. I probably would be. I'm all brooding and dark and a badass, but inside I'm squishy and a crybaby. Um, that's, that's what it is. Okay. Anyway, yeah, no, Monster Radio is still going. We're doing the damn thing. Technical difficulties are keeping me from uploading it correctly to the podcasting platforms. It's kind of stupid starting a podcast. It's kind of just a lot of dumb stuff, emails and things you got to send. But anyway, um, also, March 12th coming up is the High Strangeness Erie event in Erie, Pennsylvania, where yours truly will be the master of ceremonies, interviewing people that have had encounters with high strangeness live. I will be talking about my own encounter there on the stage. We will be selling some really sweet on Wednesdays. We talk weird merch. Actually, we have an exclusive design done by Jonathan Dodd, which if you listen to the show, you likely know who that is. If you don't, you gotta catch up. Um, Jonathan Dodd's an amazing artist. I'm not going to unveil what the actual what it is yet, what the design is yet, but it's great. You guys are really going to like it. But that's coming up March the 12th. And then, of course, June 11th is the Wiseville UFO Festival, and I will be there also. I'm not speaking at this one, but I do have a table. Of course, you can come up, say hi. We can hug, we can touch, and that'll be great. So that's all. Finally, I'm finally done with my spiel.
Nice. It was getting a little long.
I know it is. I do
I'm like,
everything. I
oh, we
mean,
must be doing another 3-hour episode again.
of course, yeah. This time around, yeah, exactly. Oh,
Not important.
okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Let me mark that down here. What was that? 20 minutes. That's cool. See, they don't have to listen to the full episode. It's nice. All right. Okay. So with all that out of the way, all that fun, you guys want some news?
Yeah. Show me what you got.
Here's the better stuff. Okay, two things happened that I noticed. So apparently, there is a Japanese university that is going to be doing DNA testing on a 300-year-old alleged mummified mermaid.
Hmm.
So they found this mermaid right now is considered a sacred object, and it is now housed at a temple that I'm not going to even possibly try to butcher the name of because I'm very white. And so anyway, they promise to preserve it as much as possible, but they are taking DNA samples. This thing looks very much like a Fiji mermaid, and it probably is that. It looks like it was caught supposedly in a net probably sometime between 1736 and 1741. So it is really old, and there is record of it, dating back to that time, or at least there seems to be some type of paper trail following this mermaid around. But they have been given permission to go ahead and conduct a DNA study. They're going to test the top half and the bottom half. If you're not familiar with what a Fiji mermaid is, it is basically a taxidermy thing that was toted around by P.T. Barnum himself, and it was just the upper body of a type of monkey, and then the bottom half of a fish, which ends up looking like a mermaid. And these are popular. You can actually purchase Fiji mermaids now. Get them on various websites. My friend Cherish over at her secret chamber house of artwork and oddities, she's got one. I mean, they're pretty popular. So this could have just been a 300-year-old hoax. But we'll find out. Those results should be out in the fall.
What is the consensus with the mermaids? Because obviously we all know what mermaids are,
Sure.
right? Like we've seen Peter Pan and Splash and shit. So like, is there a is there really historical precedence for these things existing? I mean, I've heard a lot of people trying to dismiss them as like manatees or like drunk sailors trying to fuck whales or whatever.
Sure.
Like what is the consensus in the cryptozoology community about mermaids?
That's a touchy subject because Animal Planet a few years back came out with two different mockumentaries about it. And I can't remember what exactly they were called. One's called like Mermaids, the Body Found, and then the other one's like Mermaids, something, something. They ended up like hoaxing. I mean, okay, it was a mockumentary, so you know what? It's up to the viewer's discretion to make sure that you were actually reading the credits proper and you're not actually taking it as fact. However, some of the stuff that they filmed were like alleged videos of mermaids, and they made it sound very real. It's what a mockumentary is, and it really muddied the waters with mermaid speak. I do have mermaids on the list of show topic ideas. I would like to really talk about it in depth, and me and Ivy talked about it. I believe in our Atlantis episode is when we talked about mermaids a little bit. But I don't think they're real. Half human, half fish people. No, I don't think they're real. I don't think they're real. I think that
Well, it
you
doesn't
know,
have to be, that could be one of those things that artistic liberty that people take to make it seem more clearly defined. It could be more of an aquatic humanoid species or something like more like a gill man from like Creature of the Black Lagoon than, a chick with tits. It's like Ariel or something like that.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Or no, are those considered two completely different
it could
things?
be. I mean, I would think that those are different things because we have things like lizard man and frog man, and you know what I mean, and they're kind of, I mean, they're amphibious, which is a little like, I think the creature is more amphibious than
Oh, can we do a quick side track real quick? What the fuck is up with this frogman thing that I'm seeing everywhere now? It
the
was like,
Loveland frog.
yeah, like that. Maybe I'm just in the dark, but I knew nothing about nothing, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere on Instagram and Twitter in the past like 2-3 weeks.
I don't
Did
know
they
why
did
it's
they
all of a
find
sudden
one? Did one of
popular.
them try to register to vote or something? Like,
It's
what's
it's
going on?
it's because I talked about it and everybody's talking about it. Um, no, I don't know.
I believe
I
that. I have not. That's a reasonable explanation. We're
It could
trendsetters
be.
around here.
It's an Ohio thing. Allegedly back in, I think it was the 70s, might have been the 60s. I don't know. I had to touch up on it. Police officers saw this 6 foot tall bipedal frog crossing the road, and it came upon like a bridge or whatever, or like an interstate, like a guardrail, and it kind of like looked back at them and then like hopped over and just kept walking, and they were like, and it was police officers that claimed that they saw it. I mean, it's supposed to be credible, right? Other I think other people saw it. I think another group of officers saw three of them like hanging out together, and like one of the frog people had like a magic wand.
Dude,
Supposedly.
this is the next episode right here.
We can do
This
the Loveland frog, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when I play D&D. That's usually one of my NPCs is a bullywog, is a frog character that I.
Frogman. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're little. They're not like 6 foot. They're more like gnomes or whatever. But I like using them as thieves or something. And they're
Yeah.
'cause no one ever wants to play a thief, but sometimes you want a thief in the party. So I especially when I work in my Spelljammer shit, which no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about right now except for Tobias. But yeah, so like when I saw that, like the frog humanoid things, I'm like, that's some cool D&D shit. What's going on? But now that you mentioned magic wands and there's three of them hanging out,
Yeah.
like, wow, okay. So
Yeah,
was
they're
this a
pretty good.
flap or is this something that happened like over the decades or was
I
it
mean,
just like,
people had kept seeing it, and then one of the officers, the one, I think one of the original officers that saw it, saw the one cross on the road. That's the more famous one. Was like dead set on finding this thing because he's like, I don't know what I saw, and it was a big frog man, and so he was dead set on finding it. He did eventually shoot and kill an iguana, someone's pet iguana that was missing its tail, and he said, "This is the thing that I saw." Now,
iguanas are like the size of a stapler.
no, iguanas get pretty big.
Yeah, but
They get pretty
they're
big,
never
but
bipedal.
they're not right, and they're not 6 feet tall either. So people are
Right.
like, I don't know, my guy, if that's what you saw. But that's what he said he saw, and then things kind of stopped, right? I mean, there wasn't really any talk about it until 2016 when Pokemon
Whoa.
Go became popular.
Oh my god, I love this story. This
And well, how do you not know about the Frogman, but you know the story?
No,
And
no, no. I just where this story's going. Now you're bringing in
oh,
fucking
okay,
Pokemon Go. Like this is
yeah.
fucking yeah.
So a bunch of teenagers were playing Pokemon
Just
Go.
stop. Just stop. Just stop. We got to do an episode on this.
Okay, we'll do an
But,
episode on
but
it.
where's Loveland in comparison to Dayton? Is it close or like?
Like, I think it's like 45 minutes.
Oh my god.
It's not very far.
If I end up doing that Erie, PA thing, I'll come down early and let's do the Snake Mound and then look around, look for the fucking frog, dude.
If I can, yeah, I'll try. I mean, I
Yeah.
work, but I'll try.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll just quit my job. It's fine.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's going around. It's
I've
that.
been. I mean, that's my goal. My next goal is to quit my day job. So I'm getting closer and closer every day. Anyway, okay. So what were we talking about? Mermaids. Mermaids. Yes. So mermaids are I don't know. It's up in the air. There is the aquatic ape theory, which is something that's been posed as that, some instead of evolving into land dwelling humans, because we're primates, some species branched off and evolved into like aquatic primates, basically. And kind of like you're saying, it's not exactly like aerial type of mermaid, but it would be kind of more of a, like a monkey mix, I guess, mix with a fish. I mean, it'd be something that can live in the water. I don't know. You guys want a mermaid episode? You should let us know if you want a mermaid episode. Doesn't really matter if you do or don't because we're probably gonna do it anyway. So your opinion means nothing here. I'm just
Right.
kidding. And of course, you guys want us to talk about mermaids. We will. We'll get there. But anyway, so the 300-year-old mermaid, I'm sure I'll have an update on that as soon as we know what it is. The other thing was over on TikTok, there was a really interesting video that surfaced that came out of Melbourne, and that's in Australia. If you
I
don't know,
saw that. Yeah.
yeah. Some kids were driving around when they saw this weird creature outside, and they took a video of it. And some people think, and even the people in the video thought that maybe this was the extinct Tasmanian tiger. And when you look at it, it does look like that. I mean, it's small for. I mean, Tasmanian tigers they're not huge, but they're bigger than that. But they were driving, and they saw it in the street, and they didn't just like see it in the street. Like these kids got out and like
Yeah.
chased this thing down. Like they were serious.
Right. Which is what I love. Like, I'm not necessarily like, I don't know what the fuck that thing was. It was a weird looking dog or fox or something. And
Right.
I'm not up on my zoology enough or cryptozoology
Sure.
enough to be able to say what it was or it wasn't. But I think the initiative that those kids showed and what they did,
Yeah. Good for them.
that is what I think we should be seeing more of in the 21st century when it comes to spotting. So a lot of people make the argument of like, well, if you see a Bigfoot, are you going to go for your phone right away? Or if you see the Jersey Devil, are you going to go for your phone right away? Well, these kids saw something that they didn't know what the fuck it was. And not only did they go for their phone right away, but they grabbed sticks and chased it. Now, maybe that's an Australian thing. Those people are
It
descended
could be
from
they got balls. Yeah.
yeah, maybe they're descended from criminals. I don't know, but like, fucking a, that's what you need, and I think that's what's as far as like footage goes, and the next evolution of cryptid footage. Like this is what it should be. This is the direction we should be moving in. So this
Well,
specific case, I don't fucking know what that thing was. It was weird looking. I'll give you that, but
yeah.
it definitely, I think that's good job, kids. That's
A
what me and
lot
my
of
friends would have
people
done.
a lot of people seem to think that it was maybe a fox or that just had mange or something like that. The Tasmanian tiger has been extinct for I think it's going on 100 years now.
That tail
Um,
was crazy though.
well, exactly. The
Yeah.
tail, the back end of it, is really what makes it look. I mean, the Tasmanian tigers have such a distinct back end. It look that's what it looked like. And the thing is about a lot of people in that area will tell you that no, they're not extinct. They live here. We see them. They insist. If there is going to be a cryptid discovery, I think eventually in my lifetime it will absolutely be the Tasmanian tiger, because I think that they are going to be, around. A lot of people, like I said, there's lots of sightings of them. There's a really popular picture that floats around. A lot of people are like, oh, that's not one. But to me, I'm like, how do you not think that that's anything but a Tasmanian tiger? I don't know. I hope that it is. I hope that's what they found. And but yeah, again, like Pat said, good for those kids, man. Good for you guys for jumping out of the car and chasing it down. Good for you for even knowing what the hell it might have even been. Because they're in the video, they're like, "That's a Tasmanian tiger!" Like they're like excited about it, and that's I love to see it. Usually with these TikTok videos, I don't like them. A lot of these TikTok videos I think are fake. I think it's really easy to fake things on TikTok. This was not. This was
That video is
obviously,
100% real. There's no
yeah,
question whatsoever.
no question, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it was, whether it be a Tasmanian tiger or a fox, whatever it was definitely an animal of some sort that they were chasing. They didn't know what it
Because
was.
they're chasing it down a residential street, like in between like parked cars and shit. Like
Right,
it through a neighborhood. Like it's very organic, and it's not like, oh, they're in the woods and it's like, do you see what that is? And then there's like a jump scare because something pops out behind a
right,
fucking tree. It's none of that stupid bullshit. It's like really, some kids were
yeah,
driving around with their cell phones and they grabbed out, jumped out, and took footage of something.
right,
So,
exactly. It's very, very genuine. I believe. I don't see how they could have faked it. I don't know. I'll share the video, and you guys let me know what you think about it. Of course, again, your opinion doesn't matter here, but um, I'll let you pretend that it does. No wonder why people think I'm mean. That's why I say shit like that. That makes sense. Um, anyway, that's all I had for the news this week.
all right,
So
we're doing good on
let's get
time.
let's get into this. And people were excited. Oh, that's right. One more thing, and it's not news, but it's about this episode. This episode is specifically dedicated to Daniel. You know who you are, and you know what you did, and this is all your fault. You're welcome. That's it. So, with that being said, we've been talking about this thing for a while here, and actually, the whole world has kind of been talking about it for a while. Well, at least the United States. This Havana Syndrome thing. Now, how
Right.
crazy is that? If you kind of don't really know much about it, it seems to be that diplomats within the U.S. government seem to be stricken with what JAMA is calling the immaculate concussion. Because they're experiencing these weird issues within their brains mostly, and there's really no outward reason for it to be happening. It seems to be happening in concentrated areas, in clusters of people. Sometimes it's even happening to these people's family members who might be in a general vicinity. Um, yeah, I mean that's the short of it. Pat, do you want to get into the long of it?
Yeah, it started back in 2016 with U.S. Canadian embassy staff that were located in Havana, Cuba. That's why we get the Havana Syndrome. Um, and it's like you said, since then it's spread to U.S. intelligence and military personnel and other places such as China, New Delhi, India, Europe, and Washington D.C. Now, the general consensus is that amongst people that, so there's a lot of debate whether or not this is actually real or it's mass
Yeah,
hysteria. So
yeah,
we'll get to the mass hysteria shit in a minute. So we're for the next couple of minutes we're just gonna proceed with the conversation, assuming this is all real. All right, and the general consensus amongst those people is that these are intentional attacks using microwave-based technology, most likely from the Russians, and that what they're doing is they're firing these microwave beams at the targets and like basically melting different parts of their brain, and it's giving them these different symptoms. Um, Now, they've done a lot of research on the victims and the people that have come down with this stuff, and they haven't necessarily been able to prove that, but kind of the issue with something like this is that you you're not going to believe what they tell you anyway, right? So
right,
if someone comes out and says there's no way this is possible, we do not have the technology to fire microwave beams at people targeting like, individuals, like you're shooting somebody with a squirt gun or whatever, and and doing that, and of course somebody's going to say, well, of course, that's what you're going to say.
right,
You're going to claim this technology doesn't exist, even though there's like patents that go back to the 70s that kind of loosely suggest that we have been working on stuff like this. That's the thing, is that the military industrial complex has a long, long history of quote unquote non-lethal, like developing non-lethal weapons, right? And I don't know necessarily how non-lethal this shit is because it seems to be really fucking people up. But this is stuff that we do try to develop, and that's not a secret, right? So the
right,
question is whether or not this is a byproduct of something that somebody developed, and if it is, does the technology exist, and is it causing these symptoms, which are varied, and that's the other kind of problem is that not everybody seems to experience it the same way. Some people it's more like just tinnitus. Some people it's like a long-standing concussion. Some people it's almost akin to brain damage. Some people it's just nausea and bullshit that kind of wears off eventually.
Yeah. Well, right. And there's varying degrees of what it is. One of the weirdest symptoms that I've come across is the weird like screeching noise they hear, like the metallic sounds that they some of them hear after, they get this overwhelming feeling of sickness and headaches, and which is interesting,
Well, that's
because
it. That happened to one of the Coast to Coast AM. Oh, if I forget his name right now. Oh my god.
wow.
Oh fuck. The Saturday
Wow.
the Saturday Coast to Coast AM guy who was based out of Minneapolis. He was one of my favorite DJs and he was like a fill-in for Art Bell. And he had to quit Coast to Coast because he developed tinnitus very severely. It
Wow.
happens.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that ringing in your ear where like you can't hear
Right.
straight and it's disorientating happens to musicians a lot. I'm partially fucking deaf from playing on stage for so many years. Do you think I ever wore earphones or like earplugs on stage? Like, of course not. I'm trying to get laid.
Well, I mean, but there's a difference. I mean, tinnitus is just the ringing, but like metallic sounds. What does that mean exactly?
Well, the way it's Ian Punnett too. He's the coast to coast guy, Ian Punnett. Um,
Yes.
the the way I experience tinnitus is it starts off low as a real high pitched squeal, and kind of gets louder and louder and louder, and then will eventually kind of fade away. And the whole thing lasts about a minute. It's not that bad, right? But people with severe tinnitus, people that have worked in radio their whole lives, or are musicians, or they're around airplanes, or they're fucking constantly being flown places, or I mean, you know what I mean, like, or they're around gunfire or whatever. The only time I wear ear protection now is when I go in the range. I mean, even when I'm at work and I'm around heavy equipment, I'm in a boiler room or something or a fan room, I should be wearing ear protection and I don't. So, and that's one of the arguments these people make is that like there's other explanations for this stuff, you know. Um, that doesn't mean that they're not. It's not real, you know.
I think it's interesting because a lot of people. Okay, so we had this doctor come out not too long ago and was discussing studying the brains and the symptoms of military personnel that came into contact with these UAPs, and that was kind of I feel like what maybe made talking about Havana syndrome on the show a little bit more interesting, because what he had found was that their brain scans were comparable to the ones that Jama had seen with the Havana syndrome study. And so anyway, a lot of abductees and people that experience UFOs, or things like that, they also describe this weird metallic sound. I've actually got somebody right now who is experiencing these weird metallic sounds almost nightly. And so I thought that was interesting, because we would assume that extraterrestrials would have that type of technology. We could certainly have that type of technology as well. Like you said, it's no secret that we're developing that kind of stuff. We know that we are.
It could be
Um,
from implants. I mean, that's what I always thought. Where abductees claim to hear like, because that was something I remember on a very early special that ABC did on the abductee phenomenon back in the '90s, and they talked about how abductees hear these really high pitched sounds, and they
yeah.
tried to say that there was a correlation where they would hear the sound right before there would be some kind of like car crash, someone getting a car crash, like event or something.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, I was like, well, I've had these most of my life. I never thought too much of it. I thought it was just like, but it ends up being tinnitus. Like tinnitus is a real fucking
It is. Right. It
thing,
is.
but that's once again, I mean that this is what the Havana syndrome story is draped in, is that the evidence is there. It's just how do you want to perceive it? It's you can put all of the evidence that you have, all of the physical evidence from the victims, all of the circumstantial evidence as far as like the technology, that exists or that we know has been worked on, and you could put that, and you can have two groups of people agree on the validity of all that evidence, lay it on a table, and have them still come to two completely different conclusions based on how they stack it. You know what I mean? And that, I think, a lot of the conspiracy paranormal stuff falls in this category, you know. But Havana Syndrome is definitely one of them, where you can't argue that these people are sick. They are. You can't argue that we've been working on microwave technology as non-lethal weaponry. The question is, are these two being put together, and is this a byproduct of these two being put together?
Right. I think that this is a really good the Havana syndrome is a really good testament to um kind of how science works and how we study things. I think that like again our pandemic is ending tomorrow, so um people don't realize is that that's actually really fucking quick for any type of illness. It takes a long time to study these things, and you only have a specific pool that you can study from. I mean, I think that there's only been what 200 cases reported Havana syndrome so far. Not very many. You don't have a big pool to study against, and then not to mention we're having a hard time finding the cause of this. I know that during the original 21 that JAMA studied, they had found that their brains had looked like what they had seen with war veterans who had been hit with shockwaves after attacks and things like that. But again, these people didn't report being hit with any type of, near any type of explosions or, there was no outward cause for these things to happen. And without us having all of the proper information and really having the time to sit back and like study this, it's still gonna be a while yet before I think we come to any type of conclusion as to what this is. But yeah, I mean, let's pretend that this is what's happening. Um, if this is happening, why aren't they targeting more important people?
Right. Well, who would you go for?
I mean, the president.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't, I know we weren't going to get into the whole Ukraine thing, and I don't want to derail this too much, but there's something to be said, I think, when you're fighting a war, not to necessarily make your first blow the killing blow. If you look at what's happening in the Ukraine right now, Russia could be doing a hell of a lot more damage than how they're doing. So as of recording right now, it's kind of this weird thing where like Russia's driving tanks into the Ukraine and they're running out of gas, and like the Ukraine's really winning, and like people are just kind of deserting, and it seems like the whole invasion is kind of like just falling apart, right? But this is fucking Russia we're talking about here. Like, that they have bigger guns. They have more higher trained troops. They have fucking Spenstas. They have like, and they're just not using them. They're using like, just kind of like the front lines, like the disposable stuff. Let's see if we can
Sure.
knock them over with the fucking National Guard. Nothing against the National Guard, or like the reserve guys, right? And then we'll send in the vets. Then we'll send in the fucking the jet fighters and all this shit, right? If you have microwave technology that could potentially concuss somebody, or you can blast someone's brain from a certain distance, um why wouldn't you go for Joe Biden first? Well, maybe they did. I don't know, people fucking seem to rag on Joe Biden a lot for being a little goofy. But it I don't know, maybe it's a military technique, maybe it's a strategy, maybe it's still in the testing and development stage, you know. Uh,
I mean, it could be, but like these people also aren't dying either. None of them have died yet, have they?
no, but I think they're. I don't know how. I know a percentage of them haven't returned to work, and I think if you're dealing with people in the intelligence community, and you're fucking up their brains, I mean, okay, yeah, you're not putting a body in a grave, but you're taking a chess piece off the board, and that might be enough. I don't, and that's also to assume. I don't think this is anybody's uh, whoever's using this or whoever developed this, I don't think this was ever anybody's like, you know, uh, Normandy. or like, like they're big, like this is how we're going to win the war. This is how we're going to take over the world is with Havana Syndrome. This was just another fucking thing that they were working on. Like MK Ultra, like any of our stuff. You know what I mean? Where we put some time and money and effort into it, and we did some experiments and we ruined some lives. But at the end of the day, no, it never really changed the tide of fucking history or anything. Although I guess you can kind of make that argument that MK Ultra did, but you know what I'm saying? Like I think this. My personal opinion is this is I believe this is a legitimate thing, and I think it's a psyop experiment that another country was running and saw some success with, and got picked up by the press, and got picked up by the I don't know what would you call us the underground. I don't know, fucking whatever. Like we latched onto
Okay.
it. The reason I wanted to do this show was because 60 Minutes just did something on it last weekend, but they were very dismissive of it. I haven't been able to find the video online of the 60 Minutes segment, but I read about it, and they kind of took the same stance as this book that came out last year that I did want to touch on briefly too, where they're very skeptical and just kind of write it off as mass hysteria, and say like, oh look, all these scientists say that the technology doesn't exist. We believe the scientists, therefore the technology must not exist. And like that kind of proof works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody.
Right. I mean, we know that, that's the thing about it is that a lot of the information that we even have about this syndrome is that, a lot of it's under lock and key still. We still don't have all the missing pieces. A lot of it's still hush hush. But we do know that the government is throwing funds towards it as if it is a real thing. And so therefore, and we have a name for it now. We roughly have kind of the basis of what it is, but that's about it. We still don't have all of the pieces of information to really comb over everything, because it hasn't been declassified, it hasn't been disclosed, and because they're still very much looking into it, and within reason, because if it is another country that is attacking us that way or our people that way, we're not just going to be like, oh, we got your number and throw it all out there, but yeah, I mean, if it is a real thing, what's the possibility that it's not actually China or Russia, or because that's some of the theories going around, it's another country doing this, or Cuba or whoever. What's the possibility that's actually us doing it to our own people?
Oh, very good.
Very
Um,
good. Right. I'd say pretty fucking high.
I mean, that's who you'd want to test it on because you would want
Right.
you're going to have access to, if you just aim it at some random jagoff in Russia and it hits him, you don't know what's going to, you might not have access to him 3 months down the road. But if you do it to one of your own people is going to, especially someone that's in the military, that's going to go to a VA hospital or something like that, like
Right.
you're going to have access to their health and follow up, and you can monitor them closely and all that stuff.
And then
So
you can keep the information classified on what's found.
yeah, so it's very possible that this is something we're doing to ourselves. But I mean, it could also be being done. Neither one would surprise me, I guess, because I get if you've already done that though. Let's say you've already gotten through that phase of that phase of the trial, and you know it works, and you've been doing you did that shit in the 80s. All right,
Right.
now it's the 2020s. Now you're ready to take it and aim it at a foreign country. You know what I mean? So, yes, if this is very recent technology, yes, it would make sense that the United States is using it against their own people to try to figure out the angles of it, right? But
Yeah.
if this is established technology and they already know those angles, then now it's time to put it, rubber meets the road. Now it's time to fire it at the bad guys, you know?
Yeah.
And that could be what this is. There's a lot of like, and I honestly believe that like the reason there's so much animosity sometimes between us and these other countries is because I think there's a lot of like cyber security incursions. There's a lot of these little fucking dust ups that don't necessarily make the news. We like to think that the press is like this warmongering, all they want to do is keep us watching, clickbait, destruction, destruction, destruction. I think the intelligence community has a different agenda. The intelligence community doesn't give a shit about fucking Avita ads. You know what I mean? Or making
Right.
sure that you stay on CNN and watch another fucking Jurassic World commercial. I think they want to. I think they want to avoid a panic and not necessarily let people know the dance that's going on here. And this could be something that another country did to us that we don't want to admit to because it's an invisible threat. It's a silent weapon for a secret war, and like if this is real and this is something that Russia has, who's to say that it's not being pointed at my fucking head right now? Who's to say the next time I come home from work with a migraine, it's because some fucking risky nailed me on the expressway with one of these fucking things? You know what I mean? Like, they don't need that kind of paranoia and panic. So they're going to downplay it. And I'm a civilian. I mean, even within the intelligence community, the embassy workers, they still need people to go to Kazakhstan and fucking answer the phones and plunge the toilets and shit. They still need embassy workers that aren't necessarily spies to go over there and do their thing. You know what I mean? And if you're worried about getting shot with microwave guns through walls, they got a hard enough time getting people to go to Taco Bell for work. Imagine trying to get those people to fucking show up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying. I just have a hard time finding the motive behind it because, yes, that could be very powerful, but like I would think that it could only be very powerful if it were causing, um, people to die, and it's not.
Mm,
I mean, what they're inconveniencing people with a headache and some dizziness and nausea. What does that do?
I mean, I think you can do a lot of damage by getting people sick. Look at what happened with COVID.
But people died because of COVID.
Yeah, and there's people that got hit with Havana syndrome that'll never work again, or kind of taken off the board, or not going back to whatever.
I mean, we don't know that yet. I'm just saying that because, like, okay, so back when I worked at Victoria's Secret, if you called in, all right, if you called in, it's one occurrence, right? But you might as well call off for the next 2 days because it's still one occurrence. So you get 3 days off for one occurrence,
Yeah, I know
even if
someone
you're
we
not
tell about
sick,
that. Yeah.
right? Even if you're not sick, you're gonna take advantage of all 3 fucking days. You're like, well, shit, I already called in, so I might as well just go ahead and call off the next couple days. So how do we know these people just aren't playing that shit up? They're getting paid. So why go back to work if you're getting paid to sit at home?
This is from the Wikipedia page. 2 years later, 6 of the subjects in the CDC investigation were still being rehabilitated for their injuries. 4 were still unable to return to work. And that's out of, like, what is it? What did we say? 31 people or something like that?
Right.
21 people. So you're looking at 1/5, 20%. I mean, that's a pretty big number if you do it on a large scale. But
6 out of the how many out of the 30? Or is that
no,
out of the 200?
no, no, no. I don't know.
Because
Whatever.
if it's
Look it
only
up.
6 out of 200, then it's a very real possibility they didn't return back to work because they had found that they had other issues and that's what was causing this, and they're out because of just people. Our bodies suck. You know what I mean? We
Right.
we don't know due to HIPAA. We'll probably never know what is actually ailing them. You know what I mean? Are they being? And again, there's all this red tape around this thing. We just don't have enough information at this time. I mean, I'm skeptical of it. I think that it should be looked at, but I don't see anything that is extra concerning. It sounds very scary. Microwave attacks on your brain. That sounds horrifying. And there are some things about it that I think are interesting that correspond to other things, like I said, with people that contactees and things like that. I do find that interesting. I haven't sat down and read the entire JAMA. That JAMA's done 2 studies on it. I haven't read them. I probably should have, but I didn't because I got better things to do. But if I did, I would like to see what they found and what all that correlates to. Because, like you said, there are things that cause this. Do they cause it together and within sync of each other? Are they contagious? No, not normally. Which is the weird part about it is that it's happening in clusters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do
Uh,
think that's odd.
And I had mentioned a book that came out this year called Havana Syndrome: Mass Psychogenic Illness and the Real Story Behind the Embassy Mystery and Hysteria. So you can see by the language used in that title kind of which way the book is going to lead by using the word hysteria.
Sure.
It was written by Robert W. Below, medical doctor of neurology of UCLA Health, who authored several books on neuroscience and mystery illness. So he's kind of a peer reviewed, valid guy, but he's already been accused. So look up this book, Havana Syndrome: Mass Psychogenic Illness and the Real Story Behind the Embassy Mystery and Hysteria. Look this book up on Amazon. Buy it if you want. I'll read it because what the fuck, I read a lot anyway. But it's interesting because the comments alone, you have people on both sides of the spectrum. You have people that accuse him of being a CIA shill, of course, with Joe Rogan and Jeremiah Byron. And then you have people that suggest that no, he did his research and there's no correlation here. And nobody can back the science. You know what I mean? And as far as the medical stuff goes, there's nothing to suggest that these people were attacked or anything like that. And it's almost one of these like I don't want to bring up Q again, but like one of these Q type scenarios where the evidence, there's no correlation. What do you want? Oh, but there's not gonna be. Oh, they're changing the dates. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, and it's like, or it's not real. You know what I mean? Like, how many people do you have to listen to tell you that this isn't real before you acknowledge that it isn't real? How you know what I mean? How many experts do you have to listen
Right.
to? And what expert credentials are you going to listen to? If someone's a medical doctor of neurology at UCLA and you're like, well, that guy's full of shit. Holy shit. Okay, then who the fuck do you want to hear from? Fucking House? If that House guy comes out with his cane and tells you that this isn't real, are you going to believe him? Hugh Laurie? You know what I mean? Like, what's it going to fucking take? Now, me personally, I want to believe in this just because this is the kind of world I want to live in, right? I like to live in, somebody, we were talking about this on Instagram, and I think it might have been Tobias or Adam or someone compared this to like the plot of a fucking James Bond movie. 100%. And I want to live in a James Bond movie.
Sure.
So I'm gonna drink the tea on this one. I'm not gonna call these doctors fakes or anything because motherfuckers got a PhD and shit. Like, I'm not gonna argue that. But for my own personal 2 cents, yeah, it's probably real. I'll sign off on it. What the fuck?
You enjoy the thought that it could be. I mean,
I,
I understand. I understand. I would
yeah,
like to believe that this is a possibility. Um, that's another thing. It's not just the U.S. focusing on it. It's been happening in multiple places. Canada's taken up an interest in it.
right.
China has also taken up an interest in it. They've had their own people. And again, if it is China doing it, then it makes sense for them to start with their own people and work their way outward. Who knows? There was also a case during the Cold War where the U.S. embassy in Moscow was hit with microwaves, and the thought was that they were doing it to try to interfere with technology. And the U.S. then went on to study these people, that were in the embassy building for health effects, but they didn't find any.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, microwave is just one. It could be some type of sonic weapon, could be some type of energy attack. I mean, who knows? There's different types of energies, I suppose, that you could use to attack people with. But they didn't suffer any adverse effects from that, and that was happening from the 1950s to like 1975, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's not like we haven't tried these things or other countries haven't tried this. Were they intending to hurt the people? No, it doesn't sound like they were. Their intention was to again interfere with technology, not necessarily the people themselves. Um, I also would like to believe that it's a thing, but there's just not enough about it yet. I am more than happy. I think we spend too much on our military. I think a lot of people that listen to this show hopefully would agree with that. We spend way too much money on our military. Um, but I wouldn't be sad about us spending more money on this because I think that we do need to have the facts and we do need to be informed if this is a possibility and if this is something going on, because it's not just that. What would be stopping the average everyday person from then, creating and maintaining and having sonic weapons against your fellow person? We can't even decide that every single American should be allowed to own a gun.
Yeah, well, they should. But I think well, not necessarily crazy people, but
See, this is exactly that's the conflict. So not everybody should be allowed to have a sonic weapon.
no one that I've slept with should be able to own a weapon. Let's put it like that. Uh, I had this written for my intro and I didn't use it. I talk about how girls always want to go to the range with me. My wife refuses to.
Wow.
She just has no desire to go, and I don't know if because she thinks that I'm going to shoot her or she's worried about shooting me. But I know it's one of the two. I know that it's like I don't want to be standing next to this motherfucker because I could just make him shut up for good.
You should ask her and report back on the next
I
day.
don't want to know the answer, and who knows if I'd even get the fucking truth.
I got her number. I'll text her. That's the only
Oh,
time I've ever
oh
talked
my
to her.
God. Did I give you her number?
Yeah, for your surgery.
You were never to text her. Don't ever fucking do that.
What?
Don't ever. You guys are not friends. That's not.
We're not.
We're not doing that fucking game. We're just talking about shit. But you know what? I mean, maybe here's another hypothesis. Maybe the reason that this was researched as well as it is because, like you mentioned, China looked into it, other countries looked into it. Maybe it's because this is something that we knew could have worked. It's something we've all looked at one point in time, and we thought, "Holy shit!" But no one figured it out. And then this happens, and we're all like, "Holy shit! Did someone else figure this out?" You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
like maybe that's it. Maybe
So we're
it's
jealous.
well, not just jealous, but someone beat us to the punch.
Yeah.
And maybe it is a civilian. Maybe it is some fucking goofball.
It could
You,
right. It could
you
be
know what I
just some
mean?
guy. You
And that
know.
and that would how he could travel around indiscriminately and just shoot
He's not
people.
going to tell people. Like he wants this sonic weapon to himself. He's like, nah, fam, I'm good. So
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Maybe he owns a company and like the bad employees he doesn't like, he'll like just hit him with the old sonic weapon, make him quit. I don't know. I'm just trying to build a character here. Just because I don't. It could be. It could be a civilian. I mean, that's another thing. I guess we're not really talking about much. It could just be anybody that has developed this thing, and maybe he doesn't even necessarily know that it's hitting people. Maybe he's testing it, or maybe not. Maybe now he's sitting in the back going, "Yeah, that was me. I did that." I don't know.
well, if you're the guy that invented this gun and you want to come on the show and talk about it, we will give you full anonymity. We
Absolutely,
we still never outed the fucking alien dick guy.
that's true.
You know what I
That's true.
mean?
That's
So
true. That's a good point. If we didn't out him, I mean,
yeah, you're safe.
our word's good. But no, I mean, I think that it definitely opens up a whole new can of worms as far as war and things like that goes. I mean, it's not above us to experiment with these things. Um, we've tested all kinds of different acts of warfare. World War II was just a whole entire shit show of us just throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
And that's where most of the stuff had started. Really, was between World War I and World War II, is when we really kind of let the mad scientists go. And but I don't know. I mean, I think that it's something to watch. Even when you like just Google it, just Google Havana Syndrome, and when you do, and you go read down the headlines, it's different every single time.
Right.
We learn something different every single time. So it's just not there yet. I can't confidently say whether it is or is not a thing. There's, again, obviously a lot of things about it that I am not very comfortable with landing on. A lot of questions that I still have, though, pertaining to it, and I do want to see where this goes, because I think it's important for not just us as a people, but I think it's important for contactees because it sounds like they're experiencing a very similar situation. So I think that's neat. But I don't know. I don't really that's the thing about it. We were going to do this episode and we kind of talked about it. We're like, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do this. Let's talk about it. And then we kind of started researching into it and it really wasn't a lot. It
No.
was kind of disappointing, right?
Right. Well, I wouldn't say disappointing. I mean, I think it was thought provoking, but it definitely.
It sounded way cooler than what we know right now
r-
anyway.
Well, it's because like it sounds like the plot of a James Bond movie, and when you hear about it, you're like, oh my god, that's fucking crazy, and it's got a cool name. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you look into it, and you're like, well, no, there's just these little clusters of people that came down with illnesses that are kind of similar, but kind of not, and people have looked into it, and no one's really found anything, and maybe they're lying, maybe they're not. You just kind of let it, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, it's one of these things, you know. It's
Yeah.
something that maybe we'll find out more about 30 years from now.
Yeah, definitely. Or, I mean, unless we go under attack, I mean, then we might find, you know, more out then. And who knows with the way that the world is right now and what's happening.
You want
Who
to talk
knows?
about that at all? No.
Well, I mean, I mean, I will very much say that if you're listening to the show and you're curious, this is very much a, we stand with Ukraine type of show. Um, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. Just kind of watching and waiting and seeing what's going on. If you don't know somehow and you're not sure what's going on, Russia is invading Ukraine as we speak, and it is not great. It's not great times. So I don't know. That's all I really got to say about it.
My 2 cents is that they are doing a rope a dope, and that I think that they are gonna fucking annihilate that place, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But
No, I
I
agree.
think that we are not seeing the full force of the way it's playing out right now is so fucking weird with the amount of it's like it's a roadmap to World War III. You have them doing this half-assed fucking invasion. You have all the European countries around them coming down with these like hardcore economic sanctions. You have them trying to basically let Ukraine into the UN and the EU like as quickly as possible, which they've wanted to be let in for fucking
A long
years,
time. Yeah.
right? And they were ignored, but now they're going to be let in because now if they get let in and Russia continues the attack, it opens up the door for the other countries to start to attack Russia. And it's like you're just sitting there watching, and you're like, "What the fuck is this?" And I think that it could go two ways. Either this whole thing could be over next week, and we move on to the next big thing, or this is the start of fucking something pretty monumental. And a lot of jokes being made online about, oh, don't you ever get tired of seeing history being made? Uh, that could be what this is. But to take this as face value, maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me. It does. I don't know. I don't buy it. I think by the time this show even drops, there could be something else.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah.
Because those first couple days when the Ukraine's winning, trust me, well, I want to see the Ukraine win, and we are, and they made they've done such a good job of making that president so fucking likable and such like this hero that like if he were to get killed, it'd be devastated. You know what I mean? And there's no way that Putin can fucking off this guy without becoming public enemy number one. But then what happens? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just it's oh
Then we're up against Russia, and we don't want to do that.
well, how could they
Um,
possibly win? Everyone would be up. They wouldn't. Who's on their side? That's the thing is that with World War II, there was an axis. There was a coalition. You had Japan, you had Germany, you had Italy. You know what I mean? You don't have that here. You just kind of have one big ass country trying to rebuild itself by taking over the countries that already lost. Um, I don't know. It's very very interesting.
you have
Uh,
allies. Putin didn't do this because he didn't have allies. I can guarantee that. Putin's a very scary individual. God, I'd really like to psychoanalyze the guy sometime. Because he's fucking horrifying. I mean, that man is what monsters are made of. And he thought about this. He didn't just go in there guns blazing. Oh, I'm just going to invade Ukraine today. No, this has been something that's been going on for a long time. And he knew the implications. He knew what to expect. He was very aware of what the consequences could be. He thought about this. This was very calculated. Make no mistake of that. I just think that right now, everything that's happening, he's not surprised. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's see what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks. I think we're okay. I don't think that we're going to have any type of terrible attacks or anything like that that's going to happen here on our land quite yet. But we'll see what happens as it continues.
yeah, you're more of a military target than I am.
Oh,
Well,
definitely. I thought about it. Yeah.
we're probably both equal.
We could be, yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. If they attack the base, I'm screwed. That's it. I mean, it's true. I'm like, maybe I should move. But realistically, if we have nuclear war fallout, I mean, nowhere's safe. So that's just the way it is. But anyway, Maybe we'll talk about that on a future episode. Just, I mean, we kind of talked about being on the base. I kind of mentioned, the fact that like it's crazy here right now. We've got a lot of military movement going on at the moment because there's lots of talks and things like that happening. We're seeing a lot more military personnel than usual. Our National Guardsman station is filled to the brim with people because they're all right outside the base. And so, I don't know, but we don't know anything as civilians. We just know that there's a couple extra helicopters and vehicles out. That's it. But anyway, do you have anything else to add about Havana Syndrome, Pat?
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, that was that, guys. If you have any other questions, let us know. Are we doing a password this week?
Whatever you want, Bay.
Oh God, I don't know. We're gonna do. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking now on a pass. I guess Havana. It's gonna be Havana. So that's your password for the week. Let us know. Is there gonna be a giveaway associated with this one? I don't know. You have to find out. Tell me those passwords, and we'll talk about it next week. But until then, we'll see you guys back here next Wednesday.